community organizations themselves only receive 2 to 3% of the money. Where are the intermediaries? I'll describe that later on. And lastly, the intermediaries, from a particular case study which I analyzed, is the largest bilateral funding on harm reduction in Asia, where they describe that the 50 to 96% of their money are going to the government, UN, international NGOs, and actual money which is being for the community are 4 to 50%. So you can understand that the money is not being used efficiently. So there are three reasons that resources are not prioritized. They often go to the non-effective intervention, like I have described, the interventions which do not avert majority of infection, and often go to unwanted intervention. Example, this is a sub-SR in Thailand who runs a very tiny project on behalf of Global Fund. Look at the amount of paper they have to handle just for running a small community work, and their office place has been displaced. They have to, so becoming from being an activist, as the donor, we have made them our bag bearer and paper pusher. And on the top of that, although there is no evidence of testing and counseling changing high-risk behavior, for high-risk people, by the way, please remember that, we tie the money for testing numbers. So at the end, what happens, we somehow push this organization to do enormous number of testing which do not have, which is often a human rights violation and do not change to behavior change. So my point is, the interventions are not only often effective, we are turning the activists into the only service bearer and the watchdogs, and the people who should be monitoring the quality are getting less and less. Last point is, given the scenario that the money is plateauing and we are not doing cost-effective or cost-efficient intervention, what is our future? Firstly, these are the three mechanisms. These are not the solution. Asia is the least funded region out of all WHO region where the health budget is lowest. I give you example. Look at Southeast Asia and West Pacific region, it's missed here, compared to the other region. And look at few large countries, India, China, Indonesia, Philippines, how much they spend on health as a percentage of GDP. It's lower than Africa, it's lower than Latin America, it's lower than Euro region. So with such a low funding, AIDS funding cannot be adequate. So the first point is increase health budget. Secondly, the low impact prevention, which I'll give example, that out of these 25 global menu of activities, 19 activities can be easily transferred to health departments. They should not be funded from AIDS activities. So lot of the programs can be shifted to the health department, blood safety, STI program, condom promotion, mass education, many programs, and that would save almost half of the amount. Then when from the AIDS program you launch impact mitigation program for livelihood security for widows. There are very good program in Thailand which has not been scaled up in any other countries. You can start catastrophic health expenditure program for any disability or non-communicable diseases in the country. So AIDS could be used for launch padding or kick-starting program for non-communicable disease, catastrophic health expenditure, or orphan, not only AIDS orphan, but for all orphan. My last point would be independence from donor funding. You see that there's a lot of talks these days that the BRICS should take the initiative. Traditional donor should be replaced by the emerging countries. And you see in Asia, in 2004, almost all funding were external funding. Today, at least 6 countries And increasingly, 53% of total resources, just more than 50% come from external donor, 47%, nearly 50% money coming from the domestic, domestic sources, which means the domestic source is increasing, but it's not enough. But the rhetoric has started. Who should take the responsibility? Because of the economic crisis in the north, there is more and more pressure that the countries in this region should, because of the emerging economy, they should take care of the population here. But you know, I know, and any student of politics and economics know that the economic development do not follow social justice immediately. So there will be a big time lag for the social equity to be established, and there cannot be this rhetoric going on. The most disadvantaged people in this region face severe human rights condition, who do not have even their legal rights. So it's an international joint responsibility, for shared responsibility between the countries and the international donors to stand up for these marginalized people. Now, lastly, I would say in summary that HIV resources are too low to create any impact. There are early signs of donor fatigue, although the funding has not declined. There has been first evidence in Europe that the funding has declined marginally in 2010, but not we have seen in Asia. The programs are still not cost effective. MARF still remains a priority. The health still do not share, health and social welfare still do not share many of the AIDS program currently, which could be shifted there. And lastly, in my simple mind, the answer is not economic, answer is political. And AIDS got so much of funding, whatever funding it is today, it's not because AIDS is a special disease, because it's the community organizations which stood up in North America, which stood up in Europe, which stood up in Latin America and in Asia. And whatever Dennis may say, these are the forums which years after years have organized these communities and given them the voice, who are never recognized in their own countries even. So activism is the answer, and that's a very simple answer. And politics is the solution for creating lobbying, pressure, and creating on the vote banks, and not the economic numbers. By economic numbers, you'll be always outwitted. And that's my last point, that if we do, this is our Asia epidemic model scenario, that we can keep the epidemic very low in this region by averting 5 million new infections. If you just spend less than 50 cents per person in most of the countries, and less than 0.5% of GDP in any country, you can avert 5 million new infections, 2 million deaths, $2 billion US family saving, and 80% to women from AIDS widow livelihood issues. And last point is, and I'll again congratulate both organizers and the activists who showed the courage for activism, that there is no substitute for increasing AIDS response. And if we do activism, the future would be ours.